It's still not enough.
Have you ever wondered why Zimbabwe, a country rich in minerals, fertile land, and talented people, ended up using two currencies instead of just one? For many visitors, paying for a meal in US dollars while receiving change in Zimbabwe gold, commonly known as ZiG, can be confusing. For millions of Zimbabweans, however, this is not just an unusual experience, it is part of everyday life. To understand why Zimbabwe has two currencies, we have to travel back several decades and explore one of the most dramatic economic stories in modern African history. It is a story of hope, prosperity, economic collapse, hyperinflation, political decisions, public trust, and the ongoing struggle to rebuild confidence in the country's financial system. When Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980, the country inherited one of Africa's strongest economies. It had productive farms, thriving industries, a strong banking system, and a respected national currency known as the Zimbabwe dollar. At that time, the currency was valuable enough to compete with many major currencies around the world. Zimbabwe exported tobacco, maize, gold, and manufactured goods, creating jobs and earning foreign currency. In the early years after independence, many people believed Zimbabwe was destined to become one of Africa's greatest success stories. Roads, hospitals, schools, and businesses continued operating, and the economy attracted investors from different parts of the world. However, as the years passed, several economic challenges began to appear. Government spending increased significantly while economic growth slowed. The country became involved in expensive military operations outside its borders. Public debt grew rapidly, and confidence among investors started to weaken. The situation became even more difficult after the fast-track land reform program began around the year 2000. The program aimed to redistribute commercial farmland to black Zimbabweans after decades of unequal land ownership during colonial rule. While many agreed that land reform was necessary, the speed of implementation created major disruptions in agricultural production. Commercial farming had been one of Zimbabwe's biggest sources of export earnings. As production declined, exports fell sharply. Less foreign currency entered the country, making it harder to import fuel, machinery, medicine, and other essential goods. At the same time, industries that depended on agricultural products also suffered. Factories reduced production, businesses closed, unemployment increased, and government tax revenues declined. Faced with growing financial pressures, the government increasingly relied on the central bank to finance spending by creating more money. Printing additional money may appear to solve short-term financial problems, but if goods and services do not increase at the same pace, prices begin rising rapidly. This marked the beginning of one of the worst episodes of hyperinflation. At first, prices rose gradually. Then they began increasing every month, every week, every day, and eventually several times within a single day. Workers rushed to spend their salaries immediately because waiting to tomorrow meant their money would buy far less. Businesses struggled to set prices because inflation moved faster than they could update price tags. Supermarkets often had empty shelves because suppliers refused to sell goods for rapidly losing Zimbabwe dollars. People carried bags filled with cash just to buy basic groceries. Banks imposed withdrawal limits because there simply wasn't enough physical cash available. Long queues formed outside banks every morning as people waited for money that was losing value almost by the hour. Eventually, Zimbabwe issued banknotes worth billions, trillions, and even $100 trillion. Although these notes have become famous around the world as collector's items, they represented one of the most painful periods in Zimbabwe's economic history. The biggest problem was not simply inflation itself, It was the complete loss of public trust. Money only works because people believe others will accept it tomorrow. Once that trust disappears, a currency quickly loses its usefulness, regardless of the numbers printed on the notes. By 2009, the Zimbabwe dollar had effectively collapsed. The government suspended its use and officially allowed foreign currencies for everyday transactions. The US dollar quickly became the most trusted currency. Other currencies, such as the South African rand, Botswana pula, British pound, and several others were also accepted, but the US dollar soon dominated business across the country. Dollarization brought immediate relief. Inflation fell dramatically because Zimbabwe could no longer print US dollars. Businesses regained some stability, prices became more predictable, and people once again had confidence that their savings would hold value. For several years, the economy experienced relative stability compared to the chaos of hyperinflation. However, dollarization created a different set of challenges. Zimbabwe could not produce US dollars itself. Every dollar circulating in the economy had to come from exports, tourism, remittances from Zimbabweans living abroad, foreign investment, or international borrowing. Whenever the country earned fewer US dollars than it needed, cash shortages developed. Banks often didn't have enough physical dollars to satisfy customer demand. People queued for hours to withdraw small amounts of cash. To ease the shortage, electronic payments became increasingly common. Mobile money platforms and bank transfers expanded rapidly across Zimbabwe. The government also introduced bond notes and bond coins, explaining that they would trade at the same value as the US dollar. Initially, officials insisted that one bond note was equal to one US dollar. However, many Zimbabweans remembered the painful experience of hyperinflation and remained skeptical. As confidence weakened, parallel exchange markets developed, where bond notes traded below the value of actual US dollars. This difference between official and unofficial exchange rates created new economic distortions. Businesses often charged different prices depending on whether customers paid in cash US dollars, electronic money, or bond notes. Eventually, Zimbabwe introduced another version of its national currency in an effort to restore monetary independence. Authorities argued that every sovereign nation benefits from having its own currency because it allows greater control over monetary policy, interest rates, and financial management. However, rebuilding trust proved very difficult. Years of hyperinflation had left deep psychological scars. Many Zimbabweans preferred holding US dollars whenever possible because they believed the dollar would better preserve purchasing power. Each time exchange rates moved sharply or inflation accelerated, confidence in the local currency weakened again. Over the years, different versions of the Zimbabwe dollar were introduced, reformed, and replaced as authorities searched for a stable monetary system. In 2024, Zimbabwe introduced another currency called Zimbabwe Gold, or ZiG. Unlike previous versions, the new currency was presented as being backed by reserves that included gold and foreign currencies held by the central bank. Officials hoped this backing would strengthen confidence and reduce excessive money creation. Today, Zimbabwe operates under a system where both the US dollar and ZiG are used. This explains why visitors often encounter prices displayed in two different currencies. Some salaries are paid in ZiG, while others are paid partly or entirely in US dollars. Many supermarkets accept both currencies. Fuel stations, restaurants, hotels, pharmacies, transport operators, and other businesses may also accept both, although exchange rates and pricing can vary. In practice, the US dollar is widely preferred for larger purchases, savings, imported goods, school fees, and many business transactions. Meanwhile, ZiG is commonly used for many local day-to-day transactions and government-related payments. This dual currency arrangement reflects a balance between practical reality and long-term policy goals. The government wants to strengthen the national currency because having a stable domestic currency gives policymakers greater flexibility in managing the economy. At the same time, citizens continue relying heavily on US dollars because of the trust they have developed over many years. Trust remains the single most important factor. A currency is not valuable simply because a government declares it valuable. Its value depends on whether businesses accept it, workers want to be paid in it, investors believe in it, and ordinary families feel comfortable saving it for the future. Zimbabwe's experience demonstrates how difficult it is to rebuild that trust after it has been broken. Even if inflation falls and economic policies